Friend, today is Sunday, the 18th of July. We're in the cathedral, and actually it's Saturday evening, the 17th. I thought I would record my Sunday video after we've just finished the 5:30 Mass here with a few people on a beautiful summer evening, light coming through the windows of the cathedral. Always a beautiful time here. Our first reading today was from the Book of Wisdom. The Book of Wisdom, one of the last books of the Old Testament to be written, not too long before the birth of Jesus himself. And the book itself is a guide for the wise, or perhaps better to say, a guide to be wise. And wise in one's relationship with God and relationship with neighbor. And our brief passage today from the Book of Wisdom is from the 12th chapter, and it's worth noting, even St. Thomas Aquinas commented on this passage and a little before this passage as well. Thomas Aquinas commented, speaking of wisdom, that she, interesting, the word she, wisdom is feminine, but refers to God, she reaches from one end of the world to the other. Nothing. There is nothing that is not encompassed by this wisdom, ordering all things for the good, reaching from one end of the world to the other, ordering all things for the good. Wisdom, or God, is everywhere. And God takes an interest, a personal interest in everything that is encompassed by this wisdom, which is everything. Our passage today says, there is no God besides you who have care of all. No God besides you who have care for all. You know, sometimes we think that God in his power, the words we use, almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing, mighty, powerful, knowing, and so on, that somehow all of this kind of removes God from us, that we are too insignificant for God ever to care for. But that's not the case, and that's not the biblical God. The biblical God is the one who knows every bird, tiny little bird who flies in the skies, who has counted every hair on our heads, who knows us intimately and personally. You know, I remember, once again, I refer to the old Baltimore Catechism. I despise how often I refer to it and call it to mind. Baltimore Catechism had a question at the very beginning, first chapter. Where is God? Was the question. Where is God? And the answer, God is everywhere. God is everywhere. And then to the question, does God see us? And the answer, God sees us and watches over us with loving care. Sees us and watches over us with loving care. I can remember back in grade school, and I had wonderful teachers, Sisters of St. Mary of Oregon, but sometimes they would say, remember, God sees you. And it was not in terms of care, but always if you're doing anything wrong, anything bad, God will catch you and see you. Even as the teacher who was writing on the blackboard could say, I can see you, which meant probably not anything good. But in fact, God seeing us, we have to remember God sees us because he cares for us. It's like a parent who always out of the corner of his or her eye can see the child and cares for the child and makes sure that nothing untoward ever happens to that child, watches over us with loving care. Later, philosophers building upon Thomas Aquinas, who spoke of God's omnipresence everywhere in the world, but speaking of that and developing it, they said that everything that happens is in some sense the will of God. That's hard for us to believe. When some good things happen, we believe it. When bad things happen, we don't. But that everything that happens is in some way, in some sense, the will of God. Either God is the cause or God permits it. But it happens, the cause or he permits it. Good things, bad things. And over the years, I've come to understand this myself in a way that, well, I guess I accommodated myself to it. The best I can do is to say that I take things as they come. I take things as they come. If something good happens to me, it's an opportunity to be thankful, to pass on the blessings. Something bad happens to me, I might reflect upon the sadness in the world and commit myself once again to the mission of the church to help people, to ease that suffering, even as Jesus would. It's an attitude that one has to whatever happens in life. And I see it too as an opportunity to reflect and to pray. And in trying to understand that great mystery, I remember one person using the analogy of an artist studio. Now, just imagine an artist studio. Let's say a sculptor. You walk in, it's full of dust, rocks and things all over. A half-finished statue over here, a completed one there. And you see the artist at work, and you're not really sure where everything is going, but you get a sense. You get a sense of the artist. God is like that artist, and we are those who pass through his studio, and we get a sense, but not fully. We get a sense where things are going. And there's a plan to it. There's a plan to it, but we don't really know all that it is, whatever comes. Whatever comes. To take things as they come is my attitude. Have you ever wondered if you had the power of God, or that you were God, what you would do? Most of us think of that in terms of power. I'm going to destroy this and kill that and move this and change that mountain and so on and so forth. But that's not the biblical God. The power of God is often shown in what we might call weakness, in clemency, in mercy, in forgiveness. That's the God of the Scriptures, the God of weakness. And that weakness is shown primarily in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. A stumbling block for Jews, foolishness for Gentiles, but to those who are called, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. Yes, God is everywhere, and God is loving, cares for us, shows mercy towards us, and shows providence. Care, mercy, providence. The God who is with us always until the end of the age. Hold that thought, and we'll see you on Monday.